Human emotions are a very crucial component in defining what we are, and Bharata Natyam is one of the most powerful media to invoke, nurture, and elevate human emotions, with the core purpose to propagate knowledge into the massive audience. And just in case if you're not able to understand what I'm speaking, that's because you might have not watched the part 1 of this doc film. So I suggest you first watch that and then come to this part of this doc film on Bharata Natyam. I'll leave the link in the description below. So just a quick recap, we cut this doc film into 3 chapters. The first one was significance of Natyam, why Natyam or what is Natyam, and why it forms a very essential part of the culture of Bharat. So that was covered in the previous episode. And in this episode, let's try and understand what is Bharata Natyam in a very simple way. If you're able to understand English, you will definitely able to understand Bharata Natyam in the next couple of minutes. It's that simple. And eventually in the third chapter, let's try and understand different variants of Natyam across Bharat, which are deep-rooted into the culture of this country. So let's get started. So that's the second chapter, the core essence of Bharatanatyam. We tried our best to bring forward a simple outlook of what Bharatanatyam really is. So let's try and explore that. So this is the primordial source of Bharatanatyam. It was first written by Brahmadeva in a scripture called Natya Vedam, which he heard from Lord Shiva. And from Brahmadeva, it is Bharata Muni who gave us this scripture called Natya Shastram, which is a derivative from Natya Vedam. And Natya Vedam has approximately 36,000 plus slokas. And this work is apparently lost. What we have today is Natya Shastram that came from Bharata Muni, and hence the name Bharatanatyam. Many have this impression that just because it is a classical dance of Bharat, it is called as Bharatanatyam, but it is not. Since we got to know about this Natyam from Bharata Muni as part of Natya Shastram, it is called as Bharatanatyam. So in the next couple of minutes in this episode, let's try and understand what is in Natya Shastram, which of course inherently is a derivative of Natya Vedam, which is the primordial source for Bharatanatyam as we know today. Before getting into what is in Natya Vedam, let's try and understand what is Natya Vedam in first place. Shruyatam Natya Vedasya Sambhavo Brahma Nirmitaha. This is what Bharata Muni articulated in the very beginning of Natya Shastram. He says that the Natya Vedam was devised by Brahmadeva. And then Bharata Muni articulated what Brahmadeva said about Natya Vedam. Tasmat smruja param vedam panchamam sarva varnikam. So this is what Brahmadeva said. After composing the 4 Vedas, he wanted to compose a 5th Veda which has the core and essence of all the other 4 Vedas. Just try to read these words and you will be able to understand for yourself. Tasmat smruja param vedam panchamam sarvavarnikam. I want to create a 5th Veda, sarvavarnikam, which means it is meant for people from all varnas. Varna is not a caste. The Varna Jati system was a very complex and comprehensive socio-economic structure that has been prevalent in Bharat since many thousands of years. And thanks to British, who successfully screwed up this whole system by bringing in the so-called caste system. Maybe that's a topic for another day, but what I would like to highlight again and again here is Vedam Panchamam Sarvavarnikam. In Bharat, all the ancient scriptures that talk about the Vedas and Shastras, they are meant for different kinds of people as it applies to their job and daily needs and all that stuff. There is no discrimination in the corpus of the knowledge system. It is meant for everyone as it applies to their job, which again is inherently defined by the Varna. But at the same time, let's not forget that there is definitely a possibility that people could have misused. I'm referring to people of our own country, Bharat. Maybe certain set of social class could have oppressed another set of social class. So all those possibilities, let's try and discuss another time when we could get into the details of the Varna Jati system. But for today, the only point what I would like to highlight again and again and again is the knowledge sources in this country. Historically, if you see the actual scriptures, they are meant for each and every one of us. And when I'm saying us, I'm not referring to Hindus alone. It belongs to each and every person who belongs to this country, Bharat. So if a Muslim or a Christian or person could be even an atheist, but if you are interested to explore this divine art of Bharatanatyam, it is all yours. All we need to just have is the dedication and devotion towards this divine art. So let's move on. Jagraha patyam rugveda samabhyo gitamevacha yajurveda dabhinayan rasadharvanadapi. He says that recitation from Rigveda, music from Samavedam, abhinayam from Yajurvedam and rasa from Atharvana Vedam are blended into one corpus. that is the Natya Vedam. So it essentially means that the best of all the 4 Vedas are compiled into Natya Vedam. This is what Bharata Muni articulated in Natya Shastram. Again, I am asking myself that commonsensical question about the screwed up caste system that is prevailing in the minds of people today. The scriptures, the history and the heritage of Bharat does not discriminate. It is just us who are discriminating ourselves against each other. Again, I'll try to limit myself on this topic, so let's focus back only on Natya Vedam. So let's move on. Now let us try to understand what is in Natya Vedam. If one really want to articulate what is Natya Shastram in just one line, then this is what it is. You have the artist who delivers bhava. Bhava is the expression of a specific message using words, gestures, moves, music. There could be a lot of components which contribute in producing this bhava from the artist. The central element of this bhava is always a message that the artist wants to communicate to his or her audience. Now this message, like I discussed in the previous episode, you can articulate any kind of piece of knowledge, wrap it up nicely in a bhava, which is more receptive, and deliver it to your audience. And once the audience receives that bhava, it invokes an emotion in them, which is called as rasa. And there are 9 of them that we already discussed. So Natya Shastram in one single line it is all about how the artist could deliver bhava in the best of his or her abilities and eventually transpose that bhava into his or her audience and eventually invoke that rasa. In rather simple terms, finally invoking that emotional high in the audience in one of these 9 emotions as and when you experience the Natyam. And as you might have seen in the previous episode, Natyam is always accompanied by 2 strong pillars. One is Sangeetam, which is music, and the other one is Sahityam, the literature. So this entire bhava and rasa interplay is strongly augmented by Sangeetam and Sahityam to bring in that audiovisual experience to the viewers of Bharata Natyam. So the popular understanding about Natya Shastram could be that it's all about how to articulate or understand this entire concept of the Natyam or the dance. But it is not just that, it also has Sangeetam and Sahityam components which are the very essential elements of this entire corpus of Natya Shastram. Coming to the contents of Natya Shastram as articulated by Bharata Muni. There is no intended sequence, but these are the most important aspects that Natya Shastram details at great length. First one is expressions, how well you could nurture and express your message through your facial expressions. And then, of course, how to carry different kinds of dance moves, the physical moves, how to flex your body in accordance with the guidelines that are provided in Natya Shastram, where each and every move has an intended purpose and meaning. And then it talks about the different kinds of hand gestures to articulate different kinds of bhava with your hands. And then Natya Shastram also gives the complete guidelines of how to orchestrate the group Natyam, how to synchronize and produce that harmonious effect for the viewers. And then it also talks in great detail about the Chandas Shastra, which is the foundational bedrock for the Sahityam, which are the guidelines to articulate the lyrics of a song for which the Natyam would be performed. Then it also talks about the jewelry, the cosmetics, and the costumes that the artist should be wearing while performing this Natyam. And then it also talks about different kinds of music instruments that needs to be employed as part of this Natyam. And also then how do you manage the stage, the space that we have on the stage for either a group or a solo performance of Natyam. How well we need to manage the space, because that effectively has a great impact on the way the artist is performing. So it even talks about these aspects. And finally, the backbone of Natya Shastram, the Sangeetam, the music. So it also talks about a great detail about the music that needs to be incorporated as part of the Natyam. So with 6,000 verses span across 36 chapters, Natya Shastram is an incredibly detailed treatise on how a Natyam needs to be crafted. I was really surprised when I was reading through the scripture, because the attention to detail in the entire Natya Shastram is just beyond incredible. Let me tell you what I mean. For instance, let's try to take what appears to be the least significant topic on the screen, jewelry. I mean, what does it matter what the artist is wearing? As long as it's nice and shiny, it should be fine, right? That's what I thought. So let's try and explore just what is the detail that is given only for jewelry and the costumes in Natya Shastra. So here is what it is. It talks about different kinds of cosmetics that could be made organically out of different plants that are available, different kinds of makeup styles for both men and women, usage of flowers and garlands for again both men and women, and different styles of costumes with directions on colors and fabric, types of ornaments, piercing ones, the ones which could be tied up, worn, put around. So different designs of ornaments that could be worn in different kinds of ways. Styles of ornaments, the one for head, neck, breast, fingers, waist, anklets, from top to bottom for both men and women, different kinds of ornaments, their designs, and a lot more. What specially caught my attention while I was reading through this section of Natya Shastram is the last one, which is in red. It even talks about different kinds of people, I mean to say the people of different complexion, and what kind of jewelry and clothing suits them. Broadly, it mentions about different kingdoms or tribes of people living across Bharatavarsha and beyond there. So for instance, Kiratas, Barbaras, Andhras, Dramila, Kasi, Kosala, Pulinda, these are the people who are living in the south and are of brown complexion. Shakas, Yavanas, Pahalvas, Bahilkas, who dwell in the north, are of reddish yellow. Panchalas, Saurasena, Odras, Magadhas, Angas, Vangas, and Kalingas are of darker complexion. This is a very important detail because if we are able to trace all these tribes, where they thrived, of course we should not be considering the current political boundaries of India. Thousands of years ago, it was just one wide piece of land with a lot of tribes and kingdoms and kings and all that stuff. So, for instance, Yavanas are Greeks. People who dwelt in the region of the Ionian Sea were called as Yavanas in ancient Indian scriptures. So the bottom line is, the question that arose in me after reading through this piece of this Natya Shastram is, probably Natya Shastram was popular across the Eurasian continent, not just only in India or Bharat or Bharatavarsha. But of course, these things need quite a lot of research to differentiate between facts and opinions. Nonetheless, these scriptures definitely serve as a great inspiration for these kind of research to understand how far and wide the culture was spread back then. So coming back to the jewelry, so now you got a feel, right? So what kind of details were given in what appears to be a very insignificant topic like jewelry? Even that has such kind of an incredible amount of detail. Now you just imagine what could be the length of detail that's given for rest all chapters which form the front line of Natya Shastram. But that's going to be a very huge thing. So how can we really understand the essence of Natya Shastram in a simple way without going into each of these chapters in detail? So this is an approach that I thought would be the most efficient way to completely summarize Natya Shastram in simple words. Let's get into it. Shivatandavam. A very popular word. The moment when we hear these words, often what comes to our mind is an aggressive dance of Lord Shiva who is raised with anger. But unfortunately, that is not correct. A Shivatandavam is a pleasurable and passionate articulation of Natyam. And just one part of it is the Ugratandavam, which what we know generally as the Shivatandavam, which is in a more aggressive format. So let us take Shivatandavam as the reference to understand Natya Shastram. Of course, the entire Natya Shastram is narrated by Shiva himself about his own Natyam. So the whole of Natya Shastram is nothing but only Shivatandavam. But if we take more a contemporary viewpoint of Shivatandavam, things will be a little more easy for us to understand what Natya Shastram, the corpus, actually mean. So let's get started. So first things first, what is Shivatandavam in first place? सृष्ट्वा भगवता दत्तास्ताण्डवे मुनये तथा नृत्यप्रयोगः सृष्टो यः सः ताण्डव इति स्मृतः. The translation is, Shiva created the compendium of Natyam and gave this knowledge to Tandava Muni, or sometimes is also referred as Tandu Muni, from whom it was known to us as Shivatandavam. And these are the lines written by Bharata Muni. So the Tandavam or Natyam, what we know today, is from Shiva to Tandu Muni, and from Tandu Muni to Brahmadeva, and from Brahmadeva to Bharata Muni, and from Bharata Muni to us what we have today. And that is the meaning and the reason behind calling it as Shiva Tandavam. So the very fundamental building block, the basic element of Shiva Tandavam is Karanam. So what is Karanam? Here it is. Hastapada Samayogo Nrutyasya Karanam Bhavet. The translation is a static and combined pose of hands and legs is Karanam. Think of a yoga pose, how it is. It is just frozen in one position. Just like that, what you're seeing here. These are samples of 3 Karanas of Shiva. A Karanam is just a static pose, just like it's standing in these kind of poses. It does not have any movement. These are just static poses like your yoga poses, where each Karanam has a meaning associated with it. But let's not get into that space. For instance, here you see Vyamistham, Kachinnam, Bhujanganchitam. These are different Karanas. Each and every Karana has to be mastered in that perfect body posture. And that's what make one Karana, which is the basic element of Shiva Tandavam and by extension to Bharata Natyam as well. And there are 108 such Karanas, ranging from simple body postures to extremely difficult ones like Lalata Tilakam, Vishnu Krantam, Sakathasthyam. So the one who wants to learn Bharatanatyam should be mastering all these 108 Karanas of Natarajaswami or Lord Shiva. And here is another glimpse of some more Karanas. Atikrantam, Latavrischikam, Gangavataranam. While it appears like a yoga pose to be frozen in one specific Karana, which is right, one Karana is a frozen pose of one specific style. But the difference is, it has to be glided from one Karana to another. Say for instance, all 3 Karanas have to be performed in sequence, continuously, in line with the music that is being played. So I hope you're able to imagine how difficult is Bharatanatyam. At the same time, graceful and beautiful as well. So like these 108 Karanas totally form the basic building blocks of Shiva Tandavam. And just as I said, these are static poses. All these have to be combined in different combinations to produce Tandavam. We'll see that in a minute, but these 108 Karanas squeeze out every ounce of flexibility in your body. And once you master all these 108 Karanas, that forms the ABCD of Natyam. From Karanas, which are the basic level, the next level is Angahara. And this is what Shiva said about Angahara. Shadabhirva saptabhirvapi ashtabhirnavabhistada karanauriha samyukta angahara prakirtaha. And the translation is 6, 7, 8 or 9 Karanas performed together is called as Angahara. So like I said, these static poses, the Karanas, when they are combined in groups of 6, 7, 8 or 9, they form one Angaharam. Let's try and understand what Angaharam looks like. So Angaharam is a sequence of Karanas performed together gracefully, one after the other, gliding from one Karana to another Karana. This is how a wave of Angaharam looks like. In fact, it is a collection of Angaharas. And this specific segment, if you see, for instance, will be called as one Angaharam, which is a collection of 6 or a 7 or 8 or 9 Karanas together. And there are 32 such Angaharas defined by Shiva in Natya Shastram. So if you see the pattern, slowly it is building up one on top of the other. First we had Karanas, and from Karanas, which are static poses, eventually we are using that as building blocks to perform one Angaharam, which is slowly developing that movement, which eventually at the end state develops into the full-blown Natyam. And this is what Shiva Tandavam really is. There are 2 more important aspects about Shiva Tandavam. They are Rechaka and Pindibandha. Let's briefly have a look at Rechaka and Pindibandha as well. Imagine that a group is performing Bharatanatyam. It is the Angaharam that creates that movement in the Natyam. But how are you going to glide from one Karanam to another Karanam? It cannot be just done like that. The link between one Karanam and another Karanam will be called as Rechaka. How you retract from one Karana and get into another Karana. There are guidelines even for that. And that is called as Rechaka. Rechakas are the links between one Karana to another Karana. Think of it something like this. Each and every Karana is a flower. Now you link up or hook up one flower to another flower. That hook between each and every flower is a Rechaka. And once you hook up all these flowers in a string, that forms a garland, which is Angahara. So Rechakas are essentially the links as to how you retract from a Karana and get into another Karana so gracefully so that the entire Angaharam looks like a wave pattern. On the other side, Pindi Bandha is about achieving the harmonious effect when the dance is being performed in groups. The most essential element in a group Natyam is that synchronous effect, right? So it's Pindi Bandha which gives the guidelines as to how the harmony has to be achieved in a group while performing the Natyam. So as narrated by Shiva in Natya Shastram, Karana, Angahara, Rechaka and Pindi Bandha, these four components, alongside many other nuances, all these comprise Shiva Tandava. But a man is always incomplete without a woman. And same way, Shiva is always incomplete without Shakti. So no matter how beautiful Tandavam might look like, the real soul of Natyam lies in another element called as Lasyam, which is representing the female force of life. Lasyam is always performed by Parvati Devi, and it is the Lasyam that gives that grace and passion and life to Natyam. Lasyam is the soul of Natyam. And this is what Shiva says about Lasyam. Sukumara prayogena nrityantim chaiva parvatim. As Shiva was performing the Tandavam and composing each and every Karanam, Angaharam and all, Parvati Devi added that soul to the Natyam by bringing in more subtler aspects, bringing in that sense of love and passion to Natyam, and more subtler forms of Bhava, Tandavam of Shiva and Lasyam of Parvati Devi. The divine confluence of Tandavam and Lasyam is Natyam. So like this, a very detailed descriptions of each and every aspect of Natyam are part of the Natya Shastra. And like I already mentioned, both Sangeetam and Sahityam are the most essential components of this entire Natyam. And Natya Shastram holds a lot of details about the music as well. Shajjascha vrishabhaschaiva gamdharo madhyamastada panchamo dvaivataschaiva saptamodha nishadavan. And the translation is Sa from Shajjamam, Ri from Rishabham, Ga from Gandharam, Ma from Madhyamam, Pa from Panchamam, Da from Dvaitavam, and Ni from Nishadam. Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni are the 7 notes of music. This is one of the earliest documentation about the Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni and its relevance in the Indian music as part of Natya Shastram. But of course, the main corpus of Sangeetam is from Samavedam. Nonetheless, this is also a very important articulation of this concept in Natya Shastram. Same way, Sahityam and Chandas, these concepts are also very well detailed out in Natya Shastram. And here is what the importance of Sahityam is articulated in Natya Shastram. Vangmayani ha shastrani, vangnisthani tadaivacha, tasmad vachah param nasti, vaghi sarvasya karanam. What it means is, Vak, the words, are the source of every speck of knowledge in this universe. And there is nothing beyond words, and the words are the source of everything. And Natya Shastram enforces a very strong discipline on the way we use words for formulating the lyrics of a given song. So we're not going to go into any further details of Sangeetam and Sahityam, but just a quick touch and go that Natya Shastram extensively focuses on these 2 pillars as well. Let's move on. So as an extension from the episode 1 where we discussed about knowledge, emotion and wisdom and how Natya Shastram is a perfect, or rather a very powerful conduit to propagate knowledge to masses. And these are the words of Shiva when he first formulated Natya Shastram for humanity. Sarva Shastrardha Sampannam Sarva Shilpa Pravartakam Natyakyam Panchamam Vedam Sehitasam Karomyaham. Natya Vedam is the conduit towards the compendium of all the Vedas and Shastras. It is the essence of every piece of knowledge, and it is the most powerful conduit to propagate any kind of knowledge towards humanity. And that is the power of Natya Shastram. So that is the end of chapter 2 where we saw the essence of Bharata Natyam, and now let's get to the third and last chapter, different variants of Natyam across Bharat. While Bharata Natyam, what we got from Natya Shastram written by Bharata Muni, forms the oldest classical dance of the culture of Bharat, there are many other forms of Natyam that got evolved over a period of time in different parts of the country across Bharat. And all these forms of Natyam has hundreds of years of heritage. So let's quickly flip through all these. The first of the list is Satriya. Place of origin is in the region of Assam in 1500 CE. This is a classical Nrityam of Bharat which is primarily centered around Bhagavan Sri Krishna and articulation of all his life events. That is Satriya. Up next is Manipuri of Manipur. Time of origin is approximately 1800 CE in the region of Manipur. And Manipuri completely focuses on Ras Leela of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, all his life events as a child and as a teenager in Vrindavan. Primarily around that subjects, Manipuri has got evolved as a classical Nrityam of Bharat. It is very appropriate to call Orissa as the best kept secret of Bharat because majority of the people don't know the rich culture and heritage and history of Orissa. Odissi, the classical Nrityam of Orissa, has its traces of origin almost in 200 to 1000 BCE, such is the antiquity of Odissi. Up next is Kathakali, place of origin Kerala, time of origin approximately 15th century CE. As vivid and vibrant as opera, Kathakali gives an incredible blend of expressions blended with intense invocation of emotions. It is also a classical Nrityam of the state of Kerala. Then we have Kuchipudi, place of origin Andhra Pradesh, time of origin approximately 300 BCE. Very close to Bharata Natyam, Kuchipudi holds strong focus on a lively set of expressions and more brusque movements. Up next is the energetic Kathak, place of origin the entire part of northern India, and time of origin approximately 1000 BCE. Kathak has been a very widely popular ways of storytelling in Bharat since many thousands of years. Even though Kathak is a classical dance, it has been deep-rooted into the general public quite extensively that it has manifested itself into different forms and shapes eventually. So that's Kathak for you. Up next is Mohiniyattam, place of origin Kerala, time of origin 1500 CE. Mohiniyattam focuses completely on the lasya element of dance, where it nurtures that bhava with a lot of expressions and subtler aspects of Natya Shastra. And Mohiniyattam alongside Kathakali is also the classical Nrityam of the state of Kerala. And finally, there we have Bharata Natyam, the mother of all the classical Nrityams of Bharat. Place of origin Chidambaram Nataraja Swami Kshetram in Tamil Nadu, and time of origin is not known. Bharatanatyam has incredible mentions during the Tamil Sangam periods as well, which dates back to thousands of years. So a proper dating on the origins of Bharatanatyam is not known, but the place of origin for sure is Chidambaram, Tamil Nadu. And besides the classical Nrityas of Bharat, there are 200 plus folk dances deeply embedded into the culture of Bharat. And this shows how deeply Natyam has been blended into the lives of people of Bharat since many hundreds of years. Hundreds of languages, hundreds of folk dances, different varieties of cultures, yet united as one country. That is Bharat. So that almost brings us to the end of this two-part documentary film series on understanding Bharatanatyam. It is the crown jewel in the culture of Bharat, alongside other classical Nrityas that we have. No matter how many versions or variants or different forms of classical Nrityas that we have, the primordial source, the origin, is just Natya Vedam. All these classical Nrityas that we have, Mohiniyattam, Satriya, Manipuri, Kathakali, Kathak, Odissi, Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam, all of these fall back to one single scripture, Natya Vedam, which is revered as the fifth Veda meant for each and every one of us. And if you take a broader outlook, one Natya Vedam getting manifested into these many Nrityas is a classic example of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one, but the wise calls it with many names. That's Natya Shastram, the divine art of articulating universe and everything in it. And as always, thanks for watching.